There is a new game to look out for which will be released in the Q3 of 2020. This game is called Mortal Shell and is developed by a company called Cold Symmetry. Hey guys, what's going on? Let's talk about 3 things that we know about this upcoming RPG. For number 1, let's go back to 2017 and talk about the origin of this company. Now I tried to dig in and look for information about this company which was formed in 2017 and nothing much showed up except for the names of the co-founders, Andrew McLennan Murray and Anton Gonzalez. I was able to find the LinkedIn profile of Anton Gonzalez, which showed that he has worked as the senior environment artist for Call of Duty World War II and the upcoming Sucker Punch game Ghost of Tsushima. So it is safe to assume that the people who are working on this project are veterans of the field. I was able to find an interesting fact about the company at a job site. It says, Cold War Game Studios and Black Sky Symmetry began a partnership in 2018 to produce a dark fantasy RPG title yet to be formally announced. It looks like Cold War Game Studios is the original company that was started by the 2 developers, and then this guy from Black Sky Symmetry, Vitaly Bulgarov, joined in as a co-founder. He is the creative director / industrial designer for Black Sky Symmetry, and he's done some impressive work. He's done several projects including a robotic design for the movie Alita Battle Angel. He also runs a website called Armorhead Store where he designs 3D models primarily focused on medieval fantasy. And it is safe to assume that this is where his contribution comes to the game Mortal Shell. Cold War Game Studios is an indie company who was working on a game called Dungeon Heaven. This game is an action RPG, and let me quote Cold Symmetry on the synopsis. Take the sword of a knight resurrected from stone, called into the world as a pawn in a war between living dungeons, formed from the twisted souls of those trapped within their walls. Utilize various power forms gained from defeating each dungeon to survive savage melee and magic combat. Now let's go to number 2 and actually talk about the game at hand, Mortal Shell. The company that started with 2 people grew to 15, and they came up with this massive trailer that was released a few days back. As you can see, this game was under development for about 3 years starting from 2017 under the name Dungeon Heaven. But let me give you a side-by-side comparison of the trailer of Dungeon Heaven and that of Mortal Shell. For me, Mortal Shell is not anymore an indie game. It looks much more refined and looks just as good as a AAA game. When you look at the trailer, it is obvious that the inspiration has come from the From Software Dark Souls games. But luckily, it's not an exact clone of the Souls games because we saw some unique moves in the combat and the storyline is quite unique. So the game is based on a concept of a vessel. You can gain the abilities and the shape and form of a fallen warrior. If I'm not mistaken, we see several different variations of the weapons and shapes that the vessel could take in the reveal trailer. Also, we see this interesting scene where the vessel strips off its form, or shell if you will, mid-battle. It looks cool, but I do not know what kind of tactical advantage it will provide the player with. Cold Symmetry said, for a small team like ours, developing this title in many ways felt like crossing an ocean on a paddleboat. I think their efforts have paid off. This was done by only 15 developers, but this project was done with passion and dedication, and it shows in the final output. For number 3, let's talk about what the game would look like. I think the combat will play out exactly like a Souls game. It will be difficult, it will be challenging, and will require the player's skill, and it will focus on strategy rather than brute force. The premise of the game reveals 3 locations of the game: the marsh-infested lowlands, a cathedral of obsidian rock, and an ancient crypt frozen into the crest of a mountain. So guys, these are all the things that we know about this game so far. It's gonna be a pretty interesting game, and if you are a fan of the Souls games by From Software, you should give this game a try. Not only to appreciate the efforts of 15 developers who are working on this project, but because this looks promising and this looks impressive. That's it guys, if you like my video, make sure to subscribe and like the video, and I'll see you in the next one.